We might be a small island, but we've got an epic history. And there's a wealth of untold secrets still to uncover. So every year, hundreds of archaeologists dig, dive, and sift.
Imagine stepping into a world perfectly frozen nearly 3,000 years ago, where wooden bowls still hold the last meals and threads cling to ancient spinning bobbins. A recent discovery in England's Fenlands has unveiled such a site. A Bronze Age settlement so intact it defies everything we thought possible about ancient life. This isn't just another archaeological dig. It's Britain's very own Pompeii, a city preserved in the heat of a catastrophic fire, offering unprecedented insight into a civilization 2,850 years gone. What secrets does this ancient community hold, and why did its people flee, never to return? Unearthing a time capsule. Deep beneath the Fenlands of eastern England lies a discovery that has stopped archaeologists in their tracks, a perfectly preserved Bronze Age settlement frozen in time. Unlike typical Bronze Age sites, where only fragments and shadows remain, this settlement appears as if the inhabitants have just stepped away, their tools still hanging where they left them. The preservation is so complete that wooden bowls contain remnants of meals, and ancient threads cling to spinning bobbins. Such a find is almost miraculous, defying everything experts expected from a 2,850-year-old site. This extraordinary preservation occurred in a peat bog, where oxygen-starved conditions slowed decay and locked the settlement in remarkable detail. The site, covering approximately 1.4 million square feet, revealed a cluster of stilted roundhouses hovering above sluggish waters, ringed by a dense fence of sharpened wooden posts. Each structure, about 538 square feet in size, was built with woven branch walls plastered in clay and topped with reed-thatched roofs. This was not a rough frontier camp, but a confidently designed community with sturdy, well-planned homes. Archaeologist Chris Wakefield, part of a large Cambridge team, described the site as archaeological nirvana. For the first time, they could witness daily Bronze Age life almost as clearly as a modern snapshot. The charred timber, still bearing fresh axe marks, appeared as though its builders had only just left. Far from the usual faint impressions or scattered shards, the team uncovered entire homes, tools, and possessions in place, all locked by a single catastrophic event that brought sudden destruction. Such completeness is rare in Bronze Age archaeology, where decay and time typically reduce organic materials to little more than soil stains or charcoal flecks. This Fenland settlement challenges long-held notions of Bronze Age life as ephemeral and poorly preserved. As experts studied the site, it became clear this was more than an isolated glimpse. It was a window into a civilization whose story had been lost beneath centuries of sediment. What made this possible? The key was the combination of a rapid and violent incident followed by an unusual preservation environment. The fire that consumed the settlement, though devastating, triggered conditions that prevented further decay. Peat and water sealed the remains tightly, preserving everything down to the smallest details and transforming the site into a time capsule unlike any before. Archaeologists realized they were standing at a crossroads, holding evidence that not only reconstructed a day in the life of this ancient community, but also promised to rewrite narratives about social, technological, and economic aspects of the Bronze Age in Britain. The broader significance of the discovery was yet to unfold, hinting at a complex society far beyond previous archaeological imagination. The initial excitement was tempered by the mystery pressing behind the preservation. How had such an advanced and densely packed settlement vanished so suddenly? Why did the residents never return to rebuild? These questions loomed large, urging deeper investigation into the forces that shaped their fate. The anticipation grew as the team carefully pieced together every artifact and fragment. More than just ruins, the site held the silent stories of families, of homes abruptly abandoned, meals left unfinished, and possessions frozen mid-use. Each item told part of the larger puzzle waiting to be solved. The story of this Bronze Age community was poised to emerge, but first, the scene of its sudden destruction needed full understanding. A fiery event whose dual nature both ended a way of life and gave birth to an archaeological marvel. The massive fire that ended this community's story preserved it in stunning detail, opening an unprecedented window into their world. Life frozen in flames. Around 850 BC, in the height of a dry late summer, the thriving Bronze Age settlement faced an unimaginable disaster. Fire swept through its tightly clustered homes with devastating speed. Flames tore through reed-thatched roofs and wooden walls in mere minutes, forcing inhabitants to flee in haste, abandoning virtually all their belongings. This catastrophic blaze was both ruthless and swift, leaving no time for salvage or rescue. The heat was intense enough to char timber posts black within minutes, yet the blaze was oddly contained in the sense that it destroyed but did not obliterate the site. As fragile structures collapsed into the wet fen water below, mud and peat quickly smothered the flames beneath an oxygen-poor environment. This created the exact conditions necessary to halt decay, preserving the site with astonishing fidelity for nearly 3 millennia. The same catastrophe that wiped out the settlement created an archaeological treasure trove. Instead of ruins washed away by time, the site became a sealed archive of daily Bronze Age life. Tools, household items, and even unfinished meals survived, preserved as if encased in amber. This rare moment of preservation gives archaeologists detailed insight into a past usually reconstructed from scattered clues. Among the preserved items was a wooden spoon resting in a bowl containing half-eaten wheat porridge mixed with animal fat. The existence of such evidence reveals a final, paused moment of human activity before the inhabitants fled, never to return. It is as if this village was stopped mid-breath, with nothing moved after the fire ignited. Lambs left trapped in pens perished in the fire, emphasizing the disaster's suddenness and the residents' inability to respond fully. More chilling still, the fire's rapid advancement prevented even the release of animals, an indicator of the terrifying speed and intensity of the blaze. Every burned beam and felled post reflected the path and power of the fire, painting a vivid image of destruction as well as preservation. Despite initial questions, forensic investigation found no traces of arson or human attack. There was no concentrated evidence of accelerants or structural sabotage, nor did the defenses or fences show signs of having been breached. The fire likely started accidentally, perhaps sparked by a cooking mishap, a carelessly overturned lamp, or dry sparks catching thatch in a parched season. The dual nature of this fire, as both destroyer and preserver, distinguishes the site from more common archaeological locations. Instead of gradual deterioration, it provides a snapshot imprinted in time, capturing the disaster alongside the artifacts of daily life. This phenomenon is why experts call it Britain's Pompeii, a place frozen by catastrophe. The intense preservation reveals layers of information, from household arrangements to dietary habits and craft tools, revealing a community sharply halted in its tracks. The fire laid bare daily routines and technological prowess, interrupted so suddenly that the vibrancy of life itself remains almost tangible beneath the layers of peat. While the blaze ended this particular settlement, the legacy it left behind is immense. The fire's role as both an agent of destruction and miraculous preservation makes that day one of the most significant moments for archaeologists seeking to understand Bronze Age Britain. The ingenious architecture and environmental adaptation of the settlement reveal a people mastering a difficult landscape with skill and vision. Architecture above water. Built precariously above a slow-moving river in the Fenlands, this Bronze Age settlement was an engineering feat, a series of stilted roundhouses designed to thrive in a waterlogged environment. Each dwelling was raised about 6.5 feet above the riverbed, supported on carefully spaced timber posts driven deep into the saturated soil. This elevation protected homes from seasonal flooding and damp that might otherwise have rendered them uninhabitable. The roundhouses averaged approximately 538 square feet, with walls woven from flexible branches and plastered with clay to provide insulation and protection. Their conical roofs were expertly thatched with reeds, shedding rainwater efficiently and conserving warmth within. Far from being simple huts, these were thoughtfully designed structures optimized for the challenging fenland conditions. Surrounding the entire settlement stood a robust defensive fence, comprised of sharpened wooden stakes standing about 6.5 feet tall. This ringed perimeter not only marked property boundaries, but also provided protection against intruders and wildlife. The construction of such a fence indicates planning, social cooperation, and a collective sense of security among settlers. Detailed examination of the timber showed axe marks with incredible sharpness and clarity, evidence of skilled carpentry and woodworking passed down through generations. The builders understood load distribution and physics, spacing posts deliberately to prevent sagging or collapse under shifting conditions. This was not trial and error. It was refined engineering tailored to a watery landscape. The circular design of the roundhouses served multiple purposes. It evenly distributed structural stress, helped shed rain, and maximized usable interior space. Even by modern architectural standards, such designs are praised for their efficiency and resilience. The community's architects balanced material economy with functional longevity, creating homes that likely would have stood for years had fate not intervened. Inside these homes, space was organized logically and with care. Areas near eastern walls, where morning light filtered through, served as kitchens, while southern and southeastern sections were dedicated to weaving and storage. Sleeping areas were positioned away from cooking fires and animals, maximizing comfort and safety. This division of space suggests an intimate understanding of domestic needs and social norms. The settlement also featured a square entranceway, engineered to allow controlled access while maintaining defensive integrity. This architectural element required precise joinery and hints at a nuanced security strategy. It exemplifies how even minor construction elements carried significance in terms of community safety. The overall sophistication challenges traditional assumptions about Bronze Age communities as basic or rudimentary. Instead, this settlement reveals highly capable and knowledgeable builders who adapted to their environment innovatively and effectively. Their accomplishments testify to a culture of skilled artisanship and environmental mastery. By mastering their watery world, these settlers claimed a niche others might have abandoned, showing resilience amid rising wetlands. Their architectural legacy remains not only evidence of survival, but of thriving in landscapes others found inhospitable. The sudden fire that preserved this community also sealed away its secrets, waiting to reveal its story layer by layer. Daily life revealed. The settlement's preservation offers an astonishingly vivid glimpse into everyday life, frozen in motion. In one of the roundhouses, archaeologists uncovered a pottery bowl still bearing the fingerprints of its maker. Inside lay the remnants of a wheat porridge mixed with animal fat, alongside a wooden spoon set down mid-meal. This intimate snapshot suggests the person was interrupted by disaster, fleeing in immediate haste. Across the site, hundreds of ceramic vessels, jars, bowls, cups, and cooking pots were found stacked or nested as if waiting for future use. Their craftsmanship was striking, with smooth walls, symmetrical rims, and decorative patterns, matching styles found hundreds of miles away. This level of detail reveals a society attentive to both function and aesthetic, elevating everyday objects to expressions of skill. Wooden artifacts survived as well, defying expectations with their condition. Boxes and bowls carved from willow and maple retained their shapes, while approximately 40 bobbins lay untouched, their threads still attached. 15 buckets scattered throughout the houses told their own stories, one even flipped and worn from use as a makeshift cutting board. Each item whispers a fragment of interrupted life. The textiles found were equally remarkable. Woven from flax linen, fabrics maintained a softness and velvety texture after millennia underwater. Seams and hems were meticulously finished, indicating a highly developed weaving craft. Though individual garments could not be identified, the quality suggested significant skill and time invested, combating any notion of Bronze Age clothing as crude or primitive. Luxury items punctuated ordinary life. 49 glass beads adorned various parts of the site, some made from raw materials sourced as far as Denmark and Iran. Golden amber beads added further splendor. These decorations hint at trade connections far beyond the Fenlands, enriching the settlement's cultural fabric and revealing a wider network of influence and exchange. Perhaps most haunting was a human skull, smoothed by centuries of frequent handling, resting among everyday objects. This was no mere burial. It was a keepsake, held close by people who physically connected with a lost loved one. The presence of such an intimate item humanizes the settlement, forging a palpable emotional link between past and present. Additionally, waste deposits beneath the houses painted a fuller picture of life. Analyses of ancient excrement revealed the community kept dogs fed on table scraps, while human coprolites evidenced intestinal worms, a common affliction. Animal bones reflected a rich diet featuring lamb, deer, and various game, suggesting a well-rounded subsistence. Every groove in timber, every spoon poised mid-use, blurs the line between past and present. The site is no longer just an excavation, but a haunting encounter with a moment when ordinary activity abruptly ceased. This vivid presence of daily life lends texture and immediacy rarely captured in archaeology. The compelling details found here erase centuries, allowing us to witness not just a settlement, but the rhythm of families and routines paused forever beneath layers of peat. Such glimpses into the past deepen when we consider the sophistication behind the objects and connections they reveal. Craftsmanship and trade networks. The artifacts discovered at the site tell a story of remarkable craftsmanship and far-reaching trade networks that challenge earlier conceptions of Bronze Age Britain. Pottery vessels display refined workmanship, with smooth surfaces, symmetrical forms, and elaborate decoration that align with styles seen hundreds of miles away. This suggests ideas and techniques traveled widely and influenced local artisans. The presence of fine textiles woven from flax linen indicates extensive knowledge of fabric production. Creating soft, evenly finished linens required considerable expertise and resources, underscoring that the community valued comfort and skill. These were not simply utilitarian cloths, but materials that demonstrated craftsmanship comparable to much later periods. Trade connections open new windows into the settlement's place in a vast exchange system. Luxury goods such as glass beads, some originating from Iran, and amber beads from Northern Europe reveal links extending thousands of miles. These items carried significance beyond mere adornment. They symbolized status, currency, and cultural affiliation. Importantly, these artifacts were not limited to elite dwellings, but were found across multiple households, indicating that goods circulated relatively widely rather than being hoarded. This challenges traditional assumptions of rigid hierarchical control over luxury items in Bronze Age societies and points to a more egalitarian distribution of wealth and resources. Bronze tools found in every roundhouse likewise reflected this broader availability. Copper and tin, essential for bronze production, were sourced from separate locations and required a reliable trade network and metallurgical skill. The ubiquity of well-crafted bronze implements shows that the community had access to quality materials that were integrated into everyday life. Pottery styles also reflected external influences. Certain vessel shapes and decorative patterns discovered at the site matched those found both elsewhere in Britain and continental Europe. This exchange of ideas alongside goods suggests a dynamic flow of culture, technology, and tradition. A potter here might adapt motifs encountered through trade, blending local and foreign elements seamlessly. This evidence upends the long-standing image of Bronze Age Britain as a collection of isolated, primitive settlements. Instead, it reveals a vibrant society interwoven into expansive networks, capable of sourcing and integrating exotic materials and ideas. Archaeologists began to see a society skilled not only in survival, but in innovation and connection. A world where families harnessed far-reaching trade while sustaining local crafts and traditions. This broader view compels a re-evaluation of social and economic structures in the Bronze Age. The settlement at Must Farm stands as a testament to the complex, interconnected lives of its inhabitants, offering insights into how communities lived, traded, and expressed identity across the ancient world. The tangible links between daily life and expansive trade lead us to consider the underlying tensions and fears mirrored in the settlement's defensive structures. Unearthing fear and defense. Amid the finely crafted vessels and everyday tools, a darker element surfaced. Combat spears stacked near one of the roundhouses. These shafts, stretching over 10 feet each, far exceeded lengths necessary for hunting and clearly served as weapons of war. Their presence hinted at an underlying tension within this seemingly peaceful community, suggesting they lived under the shadow of potential violence. The sharpened wooden post fence encircling the settlement, standing more than 6 feet tall, reinforced this impression. It was a formidable defensive barrier designed to deter intruders or wild animals, showing the inhabitants' concern for protection. This defensive posture contrasted sharply with the tranquil domestic scenes frozen in time inside, revealing a complex blend of safety and threat. The context of Bronze Age Britain supports this uneasy balance. Archaeologists recognize this period as one of territorial disputes and frequent conflict, where groups often clashed over resources and trade routes. The settlement's defenses and armaments echo the wider landscape's volatility, where communities had to prepare for both peace and war. Yet, forensic analysis uncovered no evidence of a violent attack at this site. Burn patterns provided no signs of arson or structural sabotage, and there was no indication of forced entry or battle debris strewn among the ruins. The spears may have belonged to the residents themselves, stockpiled for protection rather than aggression, symbols of a cautious existence rather than active conflict. The fire that destroyed the settlement could have been accidental, triggered by factors like a cooking mishap or stray spark igniting dry thatch. The swiftness of the blaze forced inhabitants to flee unprepared, as nothing had been packed and valuables were left behind. Lambs trapped in pens perished, and tools remained hanging on walls, underscoring the abruptness of departure. No footprints or signs of struggle appeared in the scattered ash and peat, suggesting the fire was a natural catastrophe rather than the result of invasion. Still, the ever-present armaments and robust fence hint at a fear that permeated daily life. These people lived with precarious security, prepared for threats that never materialized at that particular moment. The spears, defense works, and sudden evacuation form a compelling narrative about a society balancing progress and peril. This community was not naive. They equipped themselves for dangers woven into their era's fabric. Yet fate intervened in a way that left no answers about whether their readiness was ever tested in battle. These layered impressions, the comfort of home life paired with the readiness for war, paint a vivid emotional scene. They reveal people who, despite moments of normalcy and skill, dealt with undercurrents of anxiety that shaped their lives and built their world. Their story, interrupted by fire and preserved by mud, invites us to wonder about the yesterday's worries etched invisibly beneath the Thames mud and Fenland peat. As we ponder these human fears and defenses, science has stepped in to decode the fire's secrets and the settlement's sudden end with astonishing precision. Technology meets forensic science. Advances in scientific techniques played a crucial role in uncovering the story behind the destruction of this Bronze Age settlement. Experts employed forensic fire investigation methods, analyzing burn patterns, temperature gradients, and the collapse of structural elements to reconstruct how the blaze spread and why it proved so devastating. Such a detailed study offers nuances impossible to derive from surface observation alone. Microscopic examination of charred timber revealed the fire's rapid progress and intense heat, yet left no traces of accelerants or deliberate sabotage. This absence strongly supports the theory that the fire was accidental, perhaps sparked by everyday activities gone wrong in dry conditions. The investigative thoroughness transformed fragmentary clues into a coherent narrative of disaster. Chemical residue analysis of pottery vessels further enriched our understanding of daily life just before the fire. Detecting traces of specific foodstuffs, including a surprising mix of honey and deer meat, highlighted culinary sophistication unexpected for the era. These scientific insights give texture and vitality to ancient lives long assumed to be rudimentary. Beyond food remnants, the use of advanced imaging mapped out the exact positions of storage areas, weaving stations, sleeping quarters, and kitchens. This spatial resolution allowed researchers to reconstruct activity zones within each roundhouse, revealing careful planning and functional differentiation akin to modern domestic arrangements. The exceptional preservation also enabled DNA analyses and microscopic examination of soil samples containing ancient excrement, uncovering evidence of intestinal parasites common in Bronze Age life. These findings humanize the inhabitants, reminding us of the universal challenges of health and hygiene across millennia. The sheer volume of artifacts recovered, between 250 and 300 pieces in some excavation areas, dwarfs typical Bronze Age sites, providing an unprecedented dataset for multidisciplinary study. This abundance allows for robust statistical and comparative analyses, shifting archaeology from hypothesis to detailed reconstruction. Technological strides in 3D modeling and geographic information system (GIS) mapping have further enhanced the research. They enable immersive exploration of the site, virtually reassembling the settlement's complex layout and facilitating new interpretations of social organization and movement patterns. Experts hailed the integration of archaeological finds with forensic and chemical analysis as groundbreaking. It bridges the gap between scattered past fragments and coherent human stories, turning frozen moments into rich, multidimensional histories. Such innovative science not only reveals what happened, but also uncovers how those people lived, building the most intimate connection possible with a world almost lost to time. The fusion of cutting-edge science with traditional archaeological practice also opened new avenues for understanding the settlement's social hierarchy and community dynamics. By examining wear patterns on tools and residue inside ceramic vessels, researchers identified subtle distinctions between households, suggesting variations in economic roles and levels of craftsmanship. Some roundhouses contained higher concentrations of weaving implements, indicating specialized textile production, while others showed evidence of intensive food processing and storage. These differences hint at a cooperative but stratified society in which expertise and labor were distributed across interconnected family units. Isotopic analysis of human and animal remains added yet another layer of complexity, revealing dietary diversity and seasonal patterns of resource use. Variations in carbon and nitrogen isotopes suggested that some residents had greater access to protein-rich foods, perhaps reflecting social status or occupational demands. Meanwhile, animal bones indicated cyclical herding movements and selective breeding strategies, underscoring sophisticated livestock management. Such findings challenge outdated notions of Bronze Age communities as simple or technologically stagnant. Equally transformative was the application of environmental DNA, eDNA sampling, which detected traces of plants, insects, and microorganisms once present in the settlement. This allowed scientists to reconstruct the ecological backdrop with remarkable precision, from the crops cultivated nearby to the pests that infiltrated stored grain. Rebuilding this environmental mosaic reveals a community intimately connected to its landscape, constantly negotiating climate, resources, and risk. The insights gained through technology open the door to revisiting long-held views on Bronze Age Britain and its place in human history. Rethinking Bronze Age Britain. The discovery at Must Farm is reshaping our understanding of Bronze Age Britain in profound ways. For decades, archaeologists pictured this era as one marked by simple, isolated communities struggling on the fringes of progress. However, this perfectly preserved settlement reveals a sophisticated society that defies those outdated stereotypes. It shows families living comfortably, connected by trade networks stretching thousands of miles and sharing resources and ideas with surprising fluidity. The notion that luxury items like glass beads and bronze tools were restricted to elites is being questioned. At Must Farm, these goods appeared across multiple households in equal distribution, suggesting a more egalitarian social structure than traditionally assumed. This overturns previous beliefs that wealth and advanced materials were concentrated in the hands of a privileged few during the Bronze Age. Moreover, the prompt building of this high-tech settlement, finished in less than a year, refers to an organized and a moving society that quickly and efficiently made the first and successful households. The degree of technical skill from architecture to tool-making shows the intellectuality that was learned from and modified by the coming generations. This is contrary to the notion of the people of the Bronze Age as either stationary or simply living in primitive conditions. The interdependency of these distant regions, as evidenced by the artifacts that were imported from places like Iran and Denmark, has shown a world which was partially globalized long before this term was coined. The Fenlands settlement was one of the several trading and communicating points that connected distant peoples and cultures. This wider outlook commands scholars to rethink the position of ancient Britons in the larger prehistoric European and Asian worlds. Must Farm is also a case in point that emphasizes the need to consider past societies not just as complex human communities, but also as archaeological abstractions. The personal belongings, the kept human skull, routine craftwork, and unfinished meals give us a hint that these were families who had feelings, relationships, and problems just like ours. This human aspect contributes the richness of historical narratives, which most of the time are told narrowly through artifacts or timelines. This depiction of Bronze Age life not only changes the narrative regarding the social stratification, economic systems, and cultural interactions, but also helps in the formation of such a resplendent and imaginative society that was connected through networks and possibly more peaceful among its internal factions than it was thought to be, though always aware of outside dangers. The mysterious sudden desertion of the site adds another layer of ambiguity, thus stirring up even more the debates regarding the resilience and vulnerability of the social structure in the Bronze Age. The elaborate layout of the houses and the different areas for various activities indicate that people were very considerate and had a lot of insight into their daily needs. Thus, it was a community with cooperation and cultural sophistication. The entire range of material culture discovered in Must Farm, from textiles to culinary arts, speaks about a people who had the upper hand in their environment and social life, and were therefore very confident. The new discoveries made paved the way for a broader reconsideration of the place that Bronze Age Britain had in prehistory, as they continue to devour the embedded images of marginality and primitiveness that were not until recently accepted. The opposite is what the new conceptions do. They depict a lively and connected society. Even more, a society that was influential and had given the ancient world a face that we, just now, started to be aware of in ways this whole world was shaped. There is still much to be done in research, but the Must Farm is already a remarkable case that has the power to transform and lead us to seek history through the visual perception of the lives people lived and the networks of the past interwoven with each other. The narrative that the Fenlands once buried has just been expanded to include the ruins. It's now a window to the world of an ancient people who were vanquished by destiny, but are now very much alive through our discovering their past. The Bronze Age settlement at Must Farm has changed everything we thought we knew about ancient Britain. From daily life frozen in time to a vast network of trade and sophisticated craft, this discovery challenges old assumptions and brings history vividly to life. If you found this glimpse into the past fascinating, please like and subscribe for more stories that connect us to lost worlds.